If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got 3 tremendous hours for you as it's Greg Hoops Peterson holding it down tonight for Joe Serralo, and we've got ourselves a great slate as we've got ourselves the end of this OKC Thunder versus Minnesota Timberwolves game, which right now the Timberwolves just have not been able to claw their way back. We will see if they're going to be able to make a little bit more of a charge. Keep in mind, in the game that we saw yesterday between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks, this was a 16-point game with about 6:15 remaining. Right now we've got 6:14 remaining, and it is a 17-point game. So we're right back where we were yesterday, only OKC Thunder a little bit better than the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I don't think that we're going to see any sort of Herculean run, but hey, we shall see what we're going to be able to get on that front. We do have a great guest coming up tonight. We're going to be joined in about 2 hours by Kobe Dan. He does great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We'll chat with him a little bit of college baseball. We're going to be chatting with him a little bit about what we've seen in terms of some of the spring football and so much more. Always does a great job there. So we're going to have some fun with him, and we're going to have some fun taking a look at what we're all getting in terms of playoff action, as we did see one playoff game here tonight in the NHL that, well, this turned into a blowout, and man, this series appears to be done. The Florida Panthers 5-0 winners over the Carolina Hurricanes, just not competitive whatsoever from start to finish. The Panthers were able to just put hammer to nail in this one. You had Frederick Anderson get pulled in this game after he allowed 4 goals. For Matthew Tkachuk, he had himself a nice game. He was able to score in the first period, and right now for the Panthers, looks like they're probably going to be heading back to the Stanley Cup final unless if we see something very extreme. And for the Carolina Hurricanes, 14 got them 14 straight losses in the Eastern Conference Finals. That is absolutely remarkable. That dates all the way back to their series in 2009 is when that losing streak started. So this is a losing streak that spans 15 years. I was I believe at the time, freshman in high school, because I started out my freshman year of high school. I was sophomore in high school. So yeah, that's very wild to say the least, and we shall see what we're going to be able to get in terms of the NHL front, as we are going to be taking a look at the Dallas Stars game a little bit later on, as they hope to have a little bit more competitive series against the Edmonton Oilers, because this one between the Panthers and the Hurricanes, very, very one-sided, and it does feel like with both the NBA and the NHL playoffs, you've got one series that is a little bit more one-sided, and then you've got one very competitive series. We have to take a look at what we're going to be getting a little bit later on tonight in terms of what we're getting in that Indiana Pacers versus New York Knicks series, where, I mean, it's wild and crazy. The fact that the Pacers were able to do what they were able to do towards back half of game number 1, one of the greatest comebacks ever, one of the worst collapses ever, whichever way you want to slice it, it certainly was interesting. But right now in this OKC Thunder versus Minnesota Timberwolves series, just appears to be very one-sided. You've got yourself 105-92 with about 4 minutes remaining. If you're taking a look at the live number, you're going to be laying double figures with the OKC Thunder. Right now they're minus 11.5. That live total is 218.5, by the way, and I think that that's where it gets very intriguing. Like, if you're looking for a little bit of value with regards to live betting right now, if you're thinking that the Minnesota Timberwolves are able to cut this to single digits, and you think that they're going to be able to cover this live number of between 11.5, 10.5, it's right now, shall we say, going back and forth as I'm doing this, you probably want to take a look at the live over. If you don't think that they're going to be able to, you want to take a look at the live under, because if this remains a double-figure game with about 90 seconds remaining, things just very much slow down. You're going to have this game go into the abyss. If you think that the Minnesota Timberwolves have a little bit of a run in them, you'll probably want to take a look at this live over. And right now we're seeing this tick down to a 216.5 dead possession for the OKC Thunder, and you know what? I personally am going to be willing to take a shot here on it's now flipped to 218.5, but I'm going to take a shot on the over on the 218.5. We'll give ourselves a little bit of sweat here because I do think that for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're going to be able to give you a little bit more here. So we've got that in over 218.5 in this one. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have been cold in this game. They've went 10 of 34 from three-point range. They're going to need to get a little bit more here as you've had Anthony Edwards do pretty much everything except for shoot it from three-point range. Right now, 1 of 8 from three-point range. That has been a little bit less than tremendous, and Dante DiVincenzo has had some looks in this game. He's only went 2 of 6 from three-point range, but I do think that for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they might have one last run in them. They've honestly been able to do a relatively okay job on the glass. They've won the rebound battle by a count of 40-38, so that's one thing that, to their credit, they've been able to clean up from game number 1. Rudy Gobert has been a little bit better and has been utilized a little bit more than he was in game 1. Not necessarily from a scoring perspective, 5 points, but he's been able to hit the boards. He's been able to do a nice job of disrupting a few possessions in general, but as of right now, for the OKC Thunder, it is now a 107-94 lead, 3:35 remaining, and we'll see if the Minnesota Timberwolves are able to make any sort of charge here. And what I find to be very interesting for Minnesota is the fact that you've got right now Anthony Edwards, who's been able to give you 28 points. You've had Jaden McDaniels be able to supply 19. Really, nobody else has stepped up for this team. You've had Nickeil Alexander-Walker be able to come out off the bench. He's been able to give you 15, and honestly, those role players off the bench have not been too bad. Julius Randle has been a no-show here tonight. That's really the one thing that is standing out to me. Julius Randle right now, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. You're just going to need a little bit more out of him moving forward, and we saw Julius Randle, the game 1 that he was able to have, him regressing in game number 2, not necessarily something that I'm overly surprised by, because typically when you see a massive game number 1 from a guy, when you see a guy step up in the way that he was able to get those shots to fall that typically don't fall, then in game number 2, you're going to see a little bit of regression. And that's sort of the way that I'm looking at that Pacers versus Knicks game that we're going to be taking a look at a little bit later on. But I think that those are things that you do want to be taking a look at. But right now for the Minnesota Timberwolves at the free throw line, should be able to knock down a pair here. Something else I'm going to get you guys alerted on as well. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they might be able to bust open a streak. By that, I mean the Pittsburgh Pirates entered in tonight with 26 straight games where they had scored 4 runs or fewer. They currently have 4 on the board. It's the bottom of the 9th inning. There are no outs, and they've got men on 2nd and 3rd. By the way, this is a streak of 4 runs or fewer that the 26 straight games I alluded to, this is the longest streak in the live ball era, which I find to be absolutely hilarious, by the way. But you know what? This game had a funky rain delay in there. The Brewers were planning to go a little bit of piggyback style. They had Aaron Savali throw about 73 or so pitches, and then they were planning on throwing out there Mr. Carlos Rodriguez, who actually did return after the rain delay, which I thought that was very fascinating to say the least, and he actually did a solid job of being able to hold down the fort for a little bit. But now here come the Pittsburgh Pirates trying to be able to put a few runs up on the board, trying to be able to make a little bit of chase here. So we shall see what we're going to be able to get on that front, as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And along with everything that we do here at VSiN, one of the great things that we do is the Morning Bets podcast. And you want to be tuned in there because you're able to get a little bit of everything to get your day started off. You're able to get everything to be able to have your just great day of sports betting in just 15 minutes. You'll know everything to make with regards to smart wagers and stay out of line moves all before your morning coffee is gone. It's hosted by VSiN's team of trusted betting experts. The Morning Bets podcast is fast, focused, and built for bettors like you. Listen to the VSiN Daily Morning Bets podcast wherever you get your podcast, or get it on the VSiN Watch app. It's the sharpest way to start your day. That is the VSiN Daily Morning Bets podcast, and I'll throw in there my podcast as well. We've also got a favorite podcast, the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast, which if you're looking at college basketball, I'm still looking at the transfer portal, these NBA draft decisions, so I've got you guys all covered there. And then I, every single day, do the baseball betting show as well. That's every single baseball game, every single day, and that's every day throughout the regular season. So we've got you guys all covered on that front. Lots of great podcasts here at the network. And what we've got here in terms of this Minnesota Timberwolves versus OKC Thunder game is some intrigue. I told you we took the over of 218.5 live. We're up to 220.5 for the Timberwolves. At the very least, they're showing a little bit of fight here. Here in the fourth quarter, they have outscored the OKC Thunder by a count of 26-16. They've now got this down to 12 with 2:33 remaining. Now, do I think that they're going to be able to come back and they're going to be able to pull off what the Indiana Pacers were able to do 24 hours ago? No, I do not think that they're going to be able to. But if they can get a stop, get a 3, get another stop, get another bucket. Then you find yourself in a 7-point game, probably with about 90 or so seconds remaining. At that point, it's not inconceivable. And that's exactly what the Minnesota Timberwolves need to do here. They have to find a way to be able to make this a comeback that is not completely inconceivable. They have to try to find themselves just in a little bit more of a better circumstance in general. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that. I also am going to be continuing to check in to see if the Pittsburgh Pirates can get that 5th run up on the board to be able to snap that streak, which, by the way, if you missed it, if you're looking at just history in general in sports, how about what the Colorado Rockies were able to do on Thursday as they lose the Philadelphia Phillies by a count of 2-0? And the reason why this is of significance, they are 8-42 to start the season. This is the worst 50-game stretch to start a season since the Louisville, I believe, Colonels in 1895. To put that into perspective, this is the worst 50-game start to the season since the modern Olympics came back. And Mr. Ford, I believe that is Henry Ford, he had tried out his quadricep bicycle or something like that in 1896. So this predates Henry Ford putting out there his first moving vehicle, and this predates the modern Olympics. So yeah, that's what we're getting right now in baseball. And that's been a big takeaway of mine as well. Because we always take a look at these teams that we want to bet. We always want to take a look at, I want to bet this guy with regards to his props over and everything like that. Sometimes you just have to go with the gift that keeps on giving. And right now, the gift that keeps on giving in Major League Baseball is some of these teams just being absolute garbage. I recognize that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to play an over tonight, but they have been a team that's been going under all season long. The Texas Rangers, a team that we were able to see in action on Thursday. Another team that they have been just giving you unders. 35 unders, 15 overs, and a push as far this season as they scored as many runs as myself on Thursday. That would be 0. That's not a place where you want to be. And you do get some of these teams that they get streaky, like the LA Angels being able to win by a count of 10-5 for their 7th straight win, which I will be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea where that has come from, but you know what? There we go on that front. And we're going to be hitting all 15 Major League Baseball games that we've got for Friday here on the show tonight. We're going to keep you guys informed as to what we're getting in OKC versus Minnesota, as we've got about 2 minutes and change remaining. The Minnesota Timberwolves have cut what was a north of 20-point deficit down to 12. We'll see if they're able to make that run, and we will see if our live over of 218.5 cashes on the flip side, as this is Cashing Out with myself, Greg Hughes Peterson, tonight right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Greg Hughes Peterson holding it down tonight for Joe Serralo, and we've got ourselves a lot that is happening in this world of sports, as we already saw the NHL game go down. As man, for the Florida Panthers, the fact that they were able to not just get that win, but they were able to get it by a count of 5-0, absolutely remarkable what we were able to see on that front. And then when it comes to what we've got in terms of this NBA game, it is currently 117-103 with a little bit over 45 seconds remaining. So we were able to get that live over, which that makes me feel good about that. But that said, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now, 37 points and counting. He's got one more free throw to be able to try to get to 38, and he's able to get that one up and in. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, it appears as though they are unlikely to cover this game unless you see them be able to put in their multiple threes here in the final 45 or so seconds. A little bit of sweat in terms of that, but this is going to be OKC up by a count of 2-0 in the series, and this has just been pretty good domination by the OKC Thunder. They were a little bit shaky in the first half of that game number 1, but past that, they've been able to do a nice job, be able to take control here. Now the question becomes, can the Minnesota Timberwolves do anything when they head back home? Because I think going into the series, it would have been quite dramatic had the Minnesota Timberwolves been able to take either of these games. It is something that I was not anticipating. I thought that they would be a little bit more competitive in these first two games, but the fact that they're going to be going back to Minnesota down 2-0, this is not a surprise whatsoever. Now, it's what can you get out of these guys in game number 3 and beyond. And I can tell you exactly where the Minnesota Timberwolves went wrong here tonight. They've got Julius Randle with 6 more points than myself. He went 2 of 11 from the floor. He gave them absolutely nothing whatsoever. Now, to their credit, Jaden McDaniels, he was able to step up a little bit more. He had 22 points in this one. It was a nice little bit of force. And you did have 3 different guys off the bench for the Minnesota Timberwolves give you good production as DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. These 3 guys, if I do the math in my head correct, they were able to give you combined 35 points. So, they were able to do a relatively good job of stepping up. And what I think is very funny with the Minnesota Timberwolves is that Mike Conley, with regards to his plus-minus numbers, everyone was a minus except for Mike Conley, who he had a plus 15 for the Minnesota Timberwolves, despite the fact that he had 3 more points than myself. So I think that that's always hilarious, and obviously plus-minus can oftentimes be one of the most misleading stats in all of sports, but for the OKC Thunder, just way too much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this one, 38 points, but the guy that goes under the radar, guy had a really nice game. Obviously, he was second fiddle in this one, but Jalen Williams, I just continue to rave about this guy because it always feels like he just makes plays that impacts games. 26 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, so if you took his player prop over with regards to either points or rebounds, you're able to get there very easily. Chet Holmgren was able to throw in there 22 as well, and for the OKC Thunder, I was talking about just how much you were able to get out of that Timberwolves bench. They really didn't get a ton out of their bench in either of these games. Like Hassan Wallace and Alex Caruso have been able to do a very rock-solid job, but they didn't even look to Isaiah Joe in this one. They really didn't look to Aaron Wiggins too much either, but they just did a nice job with their main starting 5, being able to go out there, get the job done, and for Williams, very efficient, 12 of 20 from the floor. So the OKC Thunder, they are now up 2-0 in the series, 118-103 final in this one. And if you're taking a look on the baseball front, you've got that starting to wrap up a little bit more, as well as for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was mentioning this. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they were looking to be able to snap a very, very long streak, a streak in which they had won 26 straight games with 4 runs or fewer, the longest in the modern era, and they did get to 5 runs. They were able to get that 5th run up on the board. They do lose to the Milwaukee Brewers by a count of 8-5, but for the first time in about a month, they were able to surpass a 4-run barrier. So, yay, verily on that front for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, perhaps that'll get them going a little bit more, but that did just happen as we're pretty much all set with regards to baseball front. And when you get to these Thursdays, you just sometimes get a little bit more of a bear card in baseball. The latest game had started off at, I would say, 8:10 p.m. Eastern time. So, if you're out there on the East Coast, you're able to go to bed knowing all the results. Last game that wrapped up was the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros, with the Astros getting that done by kind of 9-2. That's a game that's able to go over the total. And for Seattle, George Kirby, he was making his first start of the season, and that's something that you do want to look at for the baseball front moving forward. These guys that they're coming off the injured list, they're maybe looking a little bit shaky in terms of rehab coming off the injured list. That was something that I very much identified in this one for George Kirby. Did not necessarily have his world's greatest start here, as he goes out there for 3 2/3 innings, gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned, thoroughly dominated. So for the Houston Astros, they're able to get back on track, and don't look now, but the Houston Astros, all of a sudden 26-24, despite the fact that this, frankly, has not been the same Houston Astros team that we've seen in past years. So we've got a lot to recap on that front, and we've got a lot to turn it forward for with regards to the playoff action in terms of the NHL and NBA, and we're going to do that momentarily. But first things first, what we've got to turn it forward to is the fact that this summer is a summer of Circa, and Circa has an all-in package that's absolutely tremendous. You get a 2-night stay for $400, which that's a solid deal in and of itself, because this involves the taxes and the resort fees, and trust me, the resort fees out here in lovely Las Vegas, they're not great, to say the least. So you're all covered there, but on top of what you're all able to get with regards to 2-night stay, you get a $100 dining credit, you get a $100 beverage credit, and then you get your own day bed at Stadium Swim as well. That pretty much pays for the stay right there. I've got parents out there in the great state of Wisconsin you might want to visit, because this is a really, really good deal. If you go to circalasvegas.com, you're able to claim this offer. This is going on now. You're able to book it right now all the way through September 4th. So you've got a few months to be able to take advantage of it. It runs all summer long. That's over at circlelasvegas.com. As it is cashing out with myself, Greg Hughes Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And we do have ourselves finals with regards to both the NBA and the NHL playoffs. And it is now 2-0. The Thunder up on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it's now 2-0. The Florida Panthers up on the Carolina Panthers. Both relatively dominant wins, with the Panthers being able to get a 5-0 win. And that one was not close to start out with, and for the Carolina Hurricanes, I think that is as good as done. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, at the very least, they're able to return home now, and we're going to see what those openers are going to be on that front as well, because I do think that it's very interesting to see where this Minnesota Timberwolves team is going to be opening up, because I was thinking going into the series that you were probably going to have the OKC Thunder as a little bit of a favorite when they went to Minnesota, probably like a 1 point, maybe a 2 point favorite, and as of right now, DraftKings is hanging a number of the OKC Thunder being 4 point favorites with a total of 217. They are clearly not thinking that there's going to be too much of a zigzag here, because the OKC Thunder, they close as 8 point favorites here in game number 2. So what they're saying is there's a 4 point adjustment with regards to home court, which that typically goes away from what home court is. Like right now, you had an OKC Thunder team that was at home. They're an 8 point favorite. What that means is if you think that home court advantage here is worth 3 points, this would be 5 points on a neutral court. And then if you would head to Minnesota, that would make Minnesota a 2 point underdog. They have made a 2 point adjustment essentially right now. Now, I recall when I was on the air yesterday for the Pacers versus New York Knicks game, this was a number that started out at 6, went down to 5.5. Now it's back to between 5.5 and 6. So we'll see if there's a little bit of line movement here. But right now, things are coming out just pretty much market wide, with the OKC Thunder being a 4 point favorite. Total's relatively where we saw in terms of game number 2, as that was a closing total of between 217 to 218. Right now, this is opening up between 217, 217.5. So really not a lot of adjustment there. No reason really to make a lot of adjustment, because I feel like that's a pretty fair total. I thought that was pretty on point. Reason why this game was able to go over was just due to a little bit of a matter of circumstance in general, but I do think that it's very fascinating to see how this OKC team is able to open up. And personally, if I had to play this right now, again, I am much more of an in-game bettor when it comes to the NBA playoffs, but I would be looking at the points with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just have to believe that they're going to be able to play a little bit better. Now, I will throw this in here as well. If you're looking at that total, keep in mind that this game was able to go over the total in game number 2, despite the fact that there was some cold shooting on both sides. These two teams want to combine 20 of 71 from 3-point range. So these were not two teams that were able to go out there and completely light it up. And for the OKC Thunder, they win this game by the amount that they do, despite going 9 of 33 from 3-point range. So that goes to show you right there that I think that they're going to be even more forceful. And what we're finding out is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to win the MVP award. I know that there's a little bit of debate as to whether or not he deserved it. He has been able to have his imprint on the series thus far. 31 points in game number 1. 38 here in game number 2, and that's a playoff career high for him. He's just been able to reach another level here for the OKC Thunder, and for the Thunder, just plenty of help in general. I was mentioning it with Jalen Williams, the fact that he was able to go out there, give you 25 points. I think that he's really an X factor for this OKC Thunder team. So very curious as to how that was going to be opening up, and we're starting to get openers in terms of game number 3 on the ice, as well as I mentioned it with the Carolina Panthers. Now 14 straight losses in the Eastern Conference Finals, got completely line-based here tonight by a count of 5-0, and not a lot of faith in them being able to bounce back here in game number 3. That is going to be a Saturday game out there in Florida. But right now with the Panthers, they're right around minus 140 to minus 148 on the money line. And I mean, man, I am not too much of an NHL bettor, but I can tell you right now, I would want absolutely no part of the Carolina Panthers right now after the way that they got lambasted for 1 in the series. And for 2, they've got the home and road splits the way that they do. They have performed very poorly on the road. That's a bit of an issue. But what is not an issue is the fact that we've got all-day baseball on Friday. We've got everything wrapped up for Thursday. So how about if we start turning it forward to Friday right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And we're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got ourselves a lot that is going down with regards to baseball on Friday, and we had ourselves a very interesting day on Thursday, to say the least, as well as all those games are in the books, and everything with regards to playoff action for Thursday in the books as well. Thunder win and cover against the Timberwolves. That game goes over, and for the Carolina Hurricanes and the Panthers, that was a total that was able to go under, but that's all because the the Carolina Hurricanes, I should say. I keep calling them the Carolina Panthers for some reason. You've got the Florida Panthers, you've got the Carolina Hurricanes, you've got a team called the Carolina Panthers, and then you've got the Miami Hurricanes. So, good, clean family fun right there. But that said, we did see them just not be able to put anything up on the board whatsoever. So for Carolina, 14 straight losses there. But we do have ourselves just a lot that's going to be going down in baseball in general on Friday. So how about if we start turning our attention there? Because we've got all 30 teams in action, but we've actually got 16 games. We were supposed to get the Baltimore Orioles going up against the Boston Red Sox on Thursday. That is now going to be a double dip on Friday because they get washed out. Now, we don't know who Lucas Giolito is going to be facing in game number 2 for the Baltimore Orioles. I was seeing on CBS Sports a little bit before they were thinking Charlie Morton, but there's really no good pitching options for the Orioles. I would not be surprised if they call up some young gun. They have done that a few times here already, but right now for the Baltimore Orioles has been rough. But we do have that game number 1 line that is up, and because we got the rain out, we have day baseball on Friday. I am a big believer that if the day ends in Y, we need a day baseball game, and thank goodness gracious, we actually do have a little bit of day baseball. So that does make me very happy now. But if we do take a look at that game, as that is at the bottom of the board, it is Brian Bayo for the Boston Red Sox, Cade Povich going for Baltimore. And right now, you've got the Red Sox as about a minus 124, minus 130 favorite. Between plus 110 to plus 115 is that number on Baltimore. And the total on this game is 9. I just have no faith here in Cade Povich whatsoever, so I'm going to be willing to back the Boston Red Sox on the money line. Now, I did my VSiN write-ups not knowing what we were going to get in terms of the opener in this game, so that was one that was very much excluded. But you know what? When it comes to Cade Povich, man, I do know that this is a guy that I really don't want to be betting on too much moving forward. He's got a 5.23 ERA, fielding dependent. That's hovering more in the neighborhood of 4.77 as he's been giving up 1.7 home runs. He's been giving up right around about 3 walks per 9 innings as well. Hasn't been as bad recently. 3 runs or fewer given up in 3 of his last 4 games, but I date this back to last season. Cade Povich has been at his worst on the road. Road ERA for his career, 6.14, and on the road he's given up in the neighborhood about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, so has not been sharp with that regard. Only gets about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And Brian Bayo, this is not necessarily a guy that I want to be making a habit of betting on, because with Brian Bayo, even though if you look at the raw ERA numbers, the raw record, it's not amazing. It's not terrible. He's got a 4.02 ERA. He's 1-2-1 in his 6 starts this season, but he's got 5.5 walks and 5.7 strikeouts per 9. To his credit, not allowing too much of the deep ball, as he's given up 4 home runs over the course of his first 6 starts of the season, but it feels like he's been able to weasel his way out of a lot of various situations. That was until he faced off against the Atlanta Braves a few days ago, and he gave up 7 runs and 5 walks in that one, so that was a little bit less than tremendous. But also for Bayo, he has went 4 2/3 innings or fewer in each out of his last 3 starts, so he's not necessarily lending a lot of length as well. You've got a Red Sox bullpen, though, that is superior to that of the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles right now find themselves in the bottom 7 of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Now, it was big that they were able to get the rain delay on Thursday because they had went 11 innings against the Milwaukee Brewers on Wednesday, so that meant that they were going to be very much up against it on that front. But for this Baltimore Orioles team, just not a lot of good options in that bullpen other than Felix Bautista along Brian Baker, as you've had Ynier Cano just really start to regress for this team. Ciano Perez has not been able to give you great innings, and I do have my trepidations with regards to this Red Sox bullpen as well. You've had Liam Hendriks not necessarily look like the guy that he once was, and that's not surprising because for Liam Hendriks, he dealt with a lot off the field. The fact that he's just able to get back out there and he's able to play baseball once again, I think that that's tremendous. But for the Red Sox, I have a lot more faith in this lineup. You got Rafael Devers, Weiler Abreu, who both been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. With Abreu, he's been able to give you about a 350 in terms of that on-base percentage. He's been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to move the line. And then additionally, you've got Alex Bregman, who's been a really good pickup for this team. Double-figure amount of homers. He's been able to supply about a 350 with regards to that on-base as well. And when it comes to this Boston Red Sox team, you've had a few guys towards the bottom of the lineup be able to step up a little bit more. You would like to see Christian Campbell stop the regression a little bit. He's been a little bit rough over over the last few weeks, but Sedane Rafaela has been able to give you a little bit more as well. And for Baltimore, Cedric Mullins is up to a double-figure amount of homers, but he's really had some slippage with regards to his on-base percentage. Gunnar Henderson, along Jackson Holiday, have actually been able to do an okay job in terms of getting on base, moving the line. But overall, do look at this Baltimore Orioles team. Do have my trepidations with them, to say the least, because this has been a unit that away from home has had a very tough time being able to just generate any offense whatsoever. As right now, this is a bunch that away from home averaging right around about 3.8, 3.9 runs per game. But I do think that they're going to be able to get to Brian Bale a little bit more here. Think that total 9 is a little bit too low, so I'm going to be in on the over. And I do like the Red Sox on the money line. Heck, with the Red Sox, I was willing to lay up to about a minus 150 on the money line. Most places find that below minus 130. And what else you're able to find is a great price here at VSiN if you're looking to become a VSiN Pro subscriber, as Smarter Bets, they are here and they last all year long with the VSiN Pro subscription. Typically with our VSiN Pro subscriptions, we charge about $20 a month, so that would be $240 a year. Well, if you go to VSiN.com/subscribe, type in the word pro, that is PRO, we're going to save you some money. Well, you're going to get $41 off of that normal rate, so you go down to $199, but not only do you get 12 months, you're getting 14 months, so that's 2 extra months for free. That means that you're getting VSiN for 14 months for less than 50 cents a day, and with that 50 cents a day, you're getting a daily best bet emails from all the VSiN shows and guests, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, plus full access to VSiN.com's analytics, betting trends, expert breakdowns, and so much more. That's over at VSIN.com/subscribe. Type in that promo code of PRO as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight. And I do think that this one is a relatively fun one as well, as we just broke down the Boston Red Sox and what they're going to be able to do. How about if we take a look at a man that was once a Boston Red Sox? That would be Chris Sale, the Atlanta Braves, playing against the San Diego Padres, and Nick Pivetta. Right now with the Padres, they're in that neighborhood about a plus 118 to a plus 125 underdog. Minus 132 to minus 142 is that number on the Atlanta Braves, and that total is in most places 7.5. We're fighting between 7.5 and 8. I'm somewhere between a 7.5 to an 8. I set my total at 7.8. Personally, I would rather have a 7.5 over rather than an 8 under. I did set my total a little bit higher with that regard, but for Chris Sale, it's been a nice run for him recently after he had his first 3-4 starts of the season be relatively rough. He's not quite where he was a season ago, where he was giving up just a half home run per 9 innings, but he's still only giving about 1 home run per 9 innings. He's been able to get north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for Nick Pivetta, he has just been very thankful to be outside of the city of Boston himself. So you've got 2 former Boston Red Sox that are going at it, which I actually think is a lot of good, clean family fun right there. But that said, for Nick Pivetta, he's been able to do a nice job of holding things down with a sub-3.5 ERA. The walks numbers have not been too bad, sub-3 walks per 9 innings, and throughout the entirety of his Boston career, he's given up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's allowing less than 1 home run per 9 innings this season. And with the San Diego Padres, what I do like about this team is the fact that their bullpen has been really good. Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, a whole bunch of guys. They're giving you a sub-3.2 ERA. Audrey Motohone has been a relatively good long guy as well. And for the Braves, this is about a league average bullpen, as you've got the likes of a Desbel Hernandez, Zone Lee doing a nice job holding down the fort, but this is a team that's a little bit up and down in terms of that bullpen, and you've got a up and down just team in general with regards to the Atlanta Braves offense, as you've been able to have Matt Olson now be able to give you 10 home runs this season. He's up to about a 350 in terms of that on base, but you would like to see a little bit more out of him. Flip side for the San Diego Padres has been really Fernando Tatis Jr. has been able to supply power and not much else, as the Padres are a little bit below average in terms of their overall home run power, but what they are getting is a lot of production in terms of moving the line for likes of Manny Machado and company, as Machado has been well above a 300. Jackson Merrill coming back off the injured list, I think, is very beneficial for this team as well. And then for the Atlanta Braves, it's been interesting to see this lineup because Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris have just not been good for this team. Both of these guys are giving you a sub-230 batting average. They're really not hitting for a lot of power, but what else have you been able to get out of this lineup is unlikely guys like a Brooks Baldwin whenever he's been at the catcher spot. You've had as well these guys like a Nick Allen, Eli White at the bottom lineup be able to hit north of 260. Again, you're not getting a lot of power out of those guys, and it's been very interesting to take a look at the home run props this season because it does feel like it's been very much more all or nothing in terms of baseball this season. You're not seeing a lot of these like number 2, number 3 home run hitters being able to give you good numbers. It's either been you've been hitting a bunch of home runs or you have not been hitting a lot of home runs. There's really no in between. But that said, for the Atlanta Braves, do think that they're going to be able to do a nice job taking it to a San Diego Padres team that's been a little bit shakier recently. Not going to lie to you. I do think that for the Atlanta Braves and Chris Sale, they find a way to get the job done. I'd be willing to lay up to about a minus 133 on that money line. A lot of places you're finding it more around about a 132 or so. That would be the max I'd be willing to lay. And with regards to this total, set mine between the 7.5 to an 8. I would rather have the 7.5 over. And coming even next, I've talked about it, how historic it is. Fade the Colorado Rockies. We'll see if we can find some cheap ways to do so next on Cashing Out on Visa, the Sports Betting Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got ourselves a tremendous slate of baseball on Friday, and we've got a really good card in general. We're going to be getting some NBA and NHL playoffs. We've got ourselves all 30 teams of Major League Baseball that are going to be going down, and I touched upon it a little bit earlier on in that hour, but we are seeing something very historic in Major League Baseball right now. The fact that the Colorado Rockies cannot win a game to save their lives. They had that wild 14-12 win against the Arizona Diamondbacks about a week or so ago, which I still don't know what happened in that game, but what I do know is that in this game, we're going to be finding ourselves a sky-high total here, and I just don't think that the Colorado Rockies do their part with this total. 975, 976 on the card is Clark Schmidt and the Yankees on the road against the Colorado Rockies as Tanner Gordon is going to be getting the start for Colorado. It was supposed to be Chase Dollander, but he's now on the injured list, so what has been a really, really bad start to the season for the Colorado Rockies. Oh, it just gets all the worse, and Clark Schmidt is going to be on the bump for the Yankees. The Yankees are currently finding themselves as right around about minus $3, minus 310 favorites, and here's what's crazy about it. If you're looking at the run line of the New York Yankees, in order to, in some places, lay 2.5 runs, you have to lay quite a bit of juice. Like, right now I'm seeing at one book, in order to lay 2.5 runs, you're up to about a minus 2 or a minus 150. Now, I will say, you've also got a minus 3.5 line currently out there at a book or two to be able to get down to minus 110, and that's how bad it's gotten. And the reason why it's gotten so bad, where you might need to lay minus 3.5 runs on the Colorado Rockies, which I never thought we would get there with a team with just this big a level stink it to. But the reason why we are going to get there is because right now this Colorado Rockies team, and their 8-42 results, all but 6 of their losses have come by multiple runs. So it's not even like they've been covering the run line. And typically, you'll find some bad teams that at some point they'll offer you a little bit of run line equity. And it's like, all right, we took the run and a half. Okay, even though we lost the game, we can feel a little bit good that they gave us a halfway decent effort. You're not even getting that out of these clowns right now. Like, for the Colorado Rockies, right around about 4.2 to 4.3 runs per game at home. And this ballpark is supposed to be like a cheat code for baseball in terms of being able to get runs up on the board as well. You just have nobody other than Hunter Goodman that's been able to give you any offense for this team. And if you really want to know where the Colorado Rockies went wrong, it goes all the way back to the offseason. The fact that they just have kept Antonio Senzatella, German Marquez, when I don't know if you could have ever traded Antonio Senzatella, but I know for a fact at the trade deadline a few seasons ago, you could have traded German Marquez, gotten something, anything for him whatsoever. Instead, he's rocking a north of 6.5 ERA for your team. That's just not necessarily too amazing, to say the least. There have been a lot of bad shall we say, front office mishaps with regards to Colorado Rockies as well. So I do think that this is a very interesting circumstance where you've got a guy in Clark Schmidt who, he's a league average pitcher. He's been able to give you about a 4.41 ERA. That fielding independent is in that neighborhood as well. He's been able to supply the team with about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He gives up a few walks. He gives up a few deep balls. But against this Colorado Rockies team, I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of deep balls to be had. Now the question is, can the Yankees score? And I'm not even kidding here. 8+ runs be able to help you out with the over because you got Tanner Gordon on the bump. He's been not great throughout his MLB career since getting called up to the big league level last season. He's got north of a 6 ERA. Now I will say the fielding independent this year is actually a 2.22. It's a very small sample size though. He's won 6 1/3 innings, so it's not like he's been out there just absolutely firing after inning or anything like that. And for the New York Yankees, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what you're going to be able to get in terms of an Aaron Judge home run prop, because we saw Kyle Schwarber and the fact that he was able to get multiple homers out there at Coors Field, and I've been noting it. It's been a little bit more all or nothing in terms of what you're getting in terms of these home run props as of right now. But if you're looking at Aaron Judge, I think that he's a very interesting candidate to say the least, because the Rockies are in just such a bad circumstance that they can't even pitch around him at this point. Like, it's just very interesting to say the least. Right now, you just don't have a prop right now in terms of Aaron Judge being able to hit a homer, but I'd have to think that he can't be much more than like plus $2, and he's probably even lower than that. Like, man, it is just so wild. And the question becomes, how do you fade the Colorado Rockies? You just take a look at the total. If you think that they're going to give up a bunch of runs, you take a look at like a Yankees team total over, you look at a full game over, and I do think that if you think that the Colorado Rockies are going to get held down, you look at the under, and I do think that there's more under equity rather than over equity for the Colorado Rockies, mainly because these Coors Field totals are so high, and they can't even score at Coors right now, averaging about 4.2 runs per contest. It has been absolutely awful what we've been seeing on that front. And what I did write up for the VSiN website was the under in this spot. As I set my total more around a 10.9. Right now you're finding a 12 in a lot of spots. I'm seeing one straight 12.5 out there, so good value there. I do like the under. And in terms of this New York Yankees team, I think that they should be able to cover this game, whether you're looking to lay -2.5, -3.5 runs. I think all are actually very acceptable, and I can't believe that just came out of my mouth, but that's where we're at with the Colorado Rockies. And what we're at with right now is taking a look at some Major League Baseball right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and we do have ourselves a good slate that is going to be going down on Friday, and this one I think is a fun one. You got yourself the New York Mets playing against the LA Dodgers. This is 9:57, 9:58 on the card, with it being Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers and one Mr. Griffin Canning on the bump for the Mets. And right now for the Mets, they're right around about even money, a little bit of plus money out there in some spots as well. Total on this game is 9, and for the LA Dodgers, they do find themselves more in that neighborhood, about a -115 or so, and I just can't trust in Clayton Kershaw. Even when he was making his starts last season, this guy just is not his normal self. He was only able to get last season right around about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and in that first start of the season against the LA Angels, gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 innings. Now, at the time, we did not know that the LA Angels were going to be able to go on this just absolutely massive win streak, and that's been a lot of fun to be able to dive in on. And I've been noticing that this has been a little bit of a year of the streak in Major League Baseball, because we recall what we saw the St. Louis Cardinals and the Minnesota Twins, those two teams being able to go on really nice runs, and or you're going to see what we're going to be able to get out of the LA Angels moving forward. But one of the modicums of consistency this year in Major League Baseball has been the New York Mets. This is a Mets lineup that has been able to do a solid job of being able to put bat to ball really all season long, aside from that first series or two. It was a little bit of bad weather out there in New York, so took them a little bit of time to get going. And I know that a lot of people want to rip Juan Soto, and rightfully so. He's making a lot of money. He's making north of like $500+ million, so you have to live up to that billing. But you know what, for Juan Soto, he's still giving you north of 360 on base. He's still been able to give you a little bit of power recently, as over the last 2.5 weeks, he has been able to hit 4 home runs for his team. Just feels like he's able to hit home runs against one team and one team only. I think that was the series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, in which he had 2 multiple home run games in 2 series against the Saints. So that's very much helping out his numbers right now. But for the rest of the Mets lineup, you've had Pete Alonso along with Francisco Lindor, I should say, both be able to give you 9+ home runs this season. And then with Francisco Alvarez, he's been able to give you a little bit of production when he's been out there on the field, but it's been a little bit mix or match at the catcher spot for this team, because with him being out with injury to begin the season, you were able to find out what you had in Luis Torrens, who I'm just surprised that no team really gave him an opportunity, because I remember when he was on the Seattle Mariners, he had like 750 with men in scoring position. Obviously, I say that very, very jokingly, but felt like every single time he got a circumstance where men were on base for him, he was able to drive them in. So I think that there's a little bit of something to that aspect as well. And then for the Seattle Mariners, you initially have had quite a few guys be able to find a way to be able to get on base. J.P. Crawford has been able to give you north of a 360 on base. And flip side for the LA Dodgers, we all know that this is one of the biggest Death Stars in all of baseball. You've been able to get 16 home runs this season out of Shohei Ohtani. He's done a nice job being able to give you right around about a 370 on base. And when it comes to Freddie Freeman, he's been able to have himself a tremendous season. Did have that shower incident, so that did cost him a few games here early on during the season, but still, he's been able to do a nice job, give this team right around about a home run every 14 at-bats, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's been able to hit north of a 360 overall as well, so he's doing a tremendous job on that front. For Mookie Betts, it's been a little bit rough going for him as well. Like, as much as we want to rip like Juan Soto and company, we do have to take a look at the fact that Mookie Betts has been having a little bit of an up and down season himself, so that's something that you do want to be diving in on, but it does feel like he's starting to be able to find it a bit more. And then you do want to be noting that you've got a pair of guys for this LA Dodgers team that they just have not been able to live up to their billing in general. I was expecting much more out of Max Muncy along Michael Conforto. Both of these guys sitting at 215 or lower. Both of these guys not necessarily giving you the power that you're looking for, but for Shohei Ohtani, he's been able to do a nice job of making up for it. But with Griffin Canning, it's been a pretty impressive season for him thus far. He's posting up a sub 250 ERA. Fielding independence is about a full point higher than the ERA, so you want to be noting that he's been a little bit lucky in terms of his strand percentage, but with regards to this New York Mets bullpen, they are far better than that of the LA Dodgers as well, because with the Dodgers bullpen, you've had guys like Blake Treinen and company go down with injuries, so they're very much depleted on that front. They've had to utilize Jack Dreyer quite a bit as a long guy for the team. And then on the flip side for the New York Mets, you've been able to get a lot of production out of all these long guys like a Jose Vito and company, Uskar Brazobin. These guys have been able to give you a sub 2 ERA, so they've been solid. And Reed Garrett and company, I do like what they're able to bring to the table. So the Dodgers being a slight favorite, just can't get with that. I do like the Mets on the money line. And with regards to the total, I would be willing to take an 8.5 over rather than a 9 under. And coming up next, how about if we do take a look at the playoff action for Friday on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.